Point 1. Everyone's got their own money mindset. Don't label it as crazy. When we see someone making what we think is a bad money move, it's easy to label them as crazy or irrational. But hold on a minute. According to Morgan Housel, no one is really crazy. Everyone's financial choices are shaped by their own unique experiences, perspectives, and situations. Think about it. There are over 7 billion people on this planet. Each one has their own unique money story. Your personal money story is just a tiny, tiny fraction of the world's collective experience. So, what seems like a no-brainer to you might seem like a crazy idea to someone else, and vice versa. For example, let's say you were born during a time of economic stability. You might see bonds as a safe bet, but someone who lived through high inflation might see bonds as a bad move. They might prefer to put their money in real estate or gold, which can offer some protection against inflation. Neither of you is crazy. You're just making decisions based on your own experiences and viewpoints. Housel also challenges the idea that our financial outcomes are all down to our actions. We like to think that success comes from making smart choices and working hard, and that failure is down to mistakes or not trying hard enough. But this overlooks the huge role that luck and circumstances beyond our control play in our financial lives. For instance, you could make a well-thought-out investment that fails because of unexpected market changes. Or you could take a risky gamble that pays off because of a sudden turn of events. And sometimes people face financial hardship because of things they can't control, like a sudden illness or a global economic crisis. So, success and failure aren't always a direct reflection of our actions or abilities. So, what's the takeaway from all this? Housel's "No one is crazy" is a reminder to be understanding and open-minded when we look at other people's financial choices. It's a nudge to recognize the complexity of money decisions and the many factors that shape our financial lives. And it's a reminder to focus on what we can control in our money lives, rather than worrying about the things we can't. Point 2. Don't be a money chaser. Find joy in life too. Morgan Housel has a simple yet profound message for us. Quit the money chase. Now that might sound a bit odd, especially when we live in a world where the size of your bank account often determines your happiness and success. But Housel's point is that an all-consuming race for wealth can make us overlook the other vital parts of life, like relationships, personal growth, and overall well-being. Imagine a high-flying businessman who's always on the clock, working 80 hours a week to pile up the riches. Sure, he's got a swanky house, drives a fancy car, and takes lavish vacations. But in his non-stop quest for money, he barely has time for his family, friends, or hobbies. He might miss his kids' big moments, put a strain on his marriage, and have zero downtime for relaxation or personal interests. Despite his hefty bank balance, he might feel empty and unhappy because he's ignored the other important parts of his life. Housel also flags the dangers that can come with an unyielding chase for wealth. Some folks might be tempted to cross ethical or legal lines to stack up their wealth, which can lead to serious problems like legal issues and a tarnished reputation. Just think about all those high-profile corporate fraud cases where big shots ended up behind bars for their illegal money-making schemes. But Housel isn't saying we should completely ignore the pursuit of wealth. His advice is to find a balance. Money matters, but it shouldn't be the be-all and end-all of our lives. It's important to figure out what really counts in life, whether it's family, health, personal growth, or giving back to society, and devote our time and energy to those things. This could mean working fewer hours to have more family time, or saying no to a high-paying job that involves shady practices. In a nutshell, Housel's message is to put happiness and fulfillment before the relentless pursuit of wealth. He nudges us to define our own version of success, which might not always be tied to financial wealth. By doing this, we can lead a more balanced and fulfilling life. So when Housel says, quit the money chase, he's not telling us to ditch our financial goals. He's just reminding us to look at the bigger picture of what makes a life successful and happy. Point 3, play the long game. Quick cash ain't always the best. Let's talk about the importance of playing the long game when it comes to money. It's all about patience, persistence, and thinking far ahead. This isn't just some abstract concept, it's a proven strategy that can make or break your financial future. Take the story of Jesse Livermore, a big shot investor from the 1920s. This guy was so good at playing the stock market that he not only survived the 1929 crash, but he also made a killing from it. But his success got to his head. He thought he had the market on a leash, and that's where things went south. He kept investing, losing money left and right until he had nothing left. The shame and despair were too much for him, and he ended his own life. Livermore's story is a harsh lesson on the dangers of short-term thinking and overconfidence in investing. He thought he could predict the market, which is like trying to predict the weather a year from now. His obsession with quick wins led him to make risky moves that cost him everything. Now, let's look at a different story. Warren Buffett, one of the richest guys on the planet, has a completely different approach. He's all about patience and thinking long-term. He started investing when he was just 10 years old, and now he's worth $84.5 billion. But here's the kicker. $84.2 billion of that came after he turned 50. That means it took him over 40 years of steady investing to build most of his wealth. Buffett's strategy is all about compounding, which is basically making money on your money. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill, getting bigger and bigger as it goes. By reinvesting his earnings and letting them grow over time, Buffett built a fortune that most of us can only dream of. His story shows the power of patience and long-term thinking in investing. So the moral of the story is this. If you want to be successful with money, you've got to be in it for the long haul. Quick wins might be tempting, but they can also lead to quick losses. The market is a wild beast that no one can tame. So trying to control it is a recipe for disaster. Instead, think long-term, reinvest your earnings, and let the magic of compounding do its thing. Point 4. Money ain't the key to happiness, freedom is. Let's talk about happiness. You might think it's all about the Benjamins, right? That's what society often tells us. But let's take a step back and think about it. I've had the chance to chat with a bunch of folks, and guess what? Not one of them said that the secret to being happy was to earn more dough than the guy next door. That's a big deal because it goes against the grain of what we're often led to believe, that being rich equals being happy. And it doesn't stop there. None of these folks said that chasing a high-paying job just for the sake of the cash and the bragging rights would make them happy. This throws another wrench in the idea that financial success is the golden ticket to a life of joy. But here's the kicker. Despite all this, many people still think that a fatter paycheck would make them happier. They put all their eggs in the money basket, hoping it will lead to happiness. But often it just leads to a life of dissatisfaction. Why? Because they're putting their happiness in the hands of things they can't control. So, what'd make these folks happy? Good relationships, quality time with family, and being part of something bigger than themselves. These are things they can control. And it's not just them saying this. Science backs it up. Research shows that people who value relationships and contribute to something bigger than themselves are generally happier. These things give a sense of purpose and fulfillment that money just can't buy. So here's the bottom line. Basing your happiness on stuff, especially stuff you don't have, is a risky business. There's no guarantee you'll ever get it. But if you value relationships and causes, you're more likely to be happy. So forget about the money. The real key to happiness? It's all about meaningful relationships and being part of something bigger than yourself. Now, that's something to think about. Point 5. Don't just aim for rich, aim for wealth and freedom. Let's talk about a concept that might seem a bit odd at first. Don't aim to be rich, aim to be wealthy. Sounds confusing, right? Aren't rich and wealthy the same thing? Well, not exactly. Let's break it down. Picture this, a guy living in a swanky $2 million mansion, driving a flashy sports car, and always decked out in the latest designer gear. You'd probably think, man, that guy's loaded. And sure, he's got a hefty income that lets him splurge on all these fancy things. But that's not wealth. That's just a showy display of being rich. Wealth, on the flip side, isn't about how much you spend, but how much you save and invest. It's about the assets you've got, the dough in your bank account, the investments you've made. Wealth means having the financial security and freedom to make choices that make you happy without stressing about money. Take another guy, living in a simple house, driving a regular car, but with $2 million tucked away in savings and investments. He might not look rich in the traditional sense, but he's got the financial stability and freedom that our rich guy might not have if he's living paycheck to keep up his high-flying lifestyle. The book also points out the traps of trying to look rich. A lot of folks buy stuff they don't need just to show off. They think that flashing their cash will earn them respect and admiration. But that's not how it works. When people see someone driving a fancy car or wearing high-end clothes, they don't automatically respect them. Instead, they often use that person's flashy lifestyle as a yardstick for their own success, stoking their own desire to achieve more. In short, trying to look rich can lead to financial stress and unhappiness. It's like being stuck on a hamster wheel, always trying to keep up with the Joneses, always wanting more, and never feeling content. The advice here is to focus on building wealth, not showing off riches. This means living within your means, saving and investing your money, and making financial decisions that will give you long-term security and happiness. It's about understanding the difference between looking rich and being wealthy and choosing the latter. So, don't aim to be rich, aim to be wealthy. Is really about prioritizing financial security and freedom over flashy possessions and outward displays of wealth. It's a reminder that real wealth isn't about what you show off to the world, but what you've saved and invested for your future. Point 6. Conclusion. Understanding money goes beyond the numbers. It's more about individual behavior and perception. Everyone has unique experiences and personal biases that shape their view of money, wealth, and investment. Wealth is not just about making more money, it's about having the freedom to make choices that allow you to enjoy your life. It's about saving more than you earn and investing the difference wisely. Greed can lead to poor financial decisions. It's important to understand that getting rich quick is a myth. Real wealth is built slowly over time through consistent saving and investing. Happiness and wealth are not directly proportional. More money doesn't necessarily mean more happiness. It's important to find a balance between wealth accumulation and enjoyment of life. In the end, the psychology of money is about understanding your own attitudes and behaviors towards money. It's about making informed decisions that align with your personal values and long-term goals. Remember, money is a tool, not a goal. Use it wisely to create a life that brings you joy and satisfaction.